Yeah, it's okay. So we have this particular formulation for this non-linear SVM. So because we are not means keeping the x as it is, we are just converting this x by some we are just doing some kind of mapping. So mapping actually means that mapping function we don't know actually for initial stage, but how we can will deal this those things we'll discuss later. So this phi x is nothing but means obviously whatever the sample is there, you just transform the sample into a higher dimension space. Okay, so obviously now this formulation is related to this non-linear SVM part. So here, if this norm of obviously, if you we have already discussed previously, this particular margin actually is nothing but 2 upon norm of W distance that you have to maximize, or you can say we have to minimize this norm of W square by 2, and this corresponding to the, because maybe some of the samples like these are the samples, it's perfectly fine, but maybe some these samples may be beyond of this particular line. In that case there will be some error, so that particular this theta I and theta j to means how much error they will contribute, so that also you have to minimize. So ultimately either you are maximizing the margin and this particular, or you have to minimizing the this particular error. So that these two things you are just clubbing with this regression parameter. So that is C is that obviously this C should be positive. So if we, this particular one is corresponding to the maybe this particular hyperplane, sorry this one hyperplane, and this second one is corresponding to the -1 class. So if we want to combine these two equation into a single equation, just see here yi y transpose phi x minus p theta equal to 1 minus zeta I. So let's say if yi is equal to 1, you will get this particular inequality, and if yi is equal to -1, when you put here, you will get the second one also. So ultimately you can combine these two inequalities into a single inequalities, and this whole problem is nothing but that is your SVM problem. So further, obviously this is a primal column. So one maybe use this Lagrangian multiplier and the KKT conditions, and we convert into a 12 form. So this will be your 12 form problem that you can solve through this quadratic problem. So we can solve through maybe any toolbox. Actually, I used this MOSIC toolbox, that is plugin with MATLAB. And here this phi x and phi, obviously I told you this phi x we don't know, but we can convert this phi x and phi x transpose phi x, and we can convert, we can write in this particular manner. And this k is nothing but that is your kernel function. So kernel trick actually we are applying. So one may be asked means why you are converting this primal column into a dual column. So you maybe give the answer in that way, means because when we don't know this phi x function, but when we are converting primal to dual, in that case you can easily replace this term by some kind of kernel function. So that is the means advantage, or you can say that is the means advantage obviously. So you can easily convert primal to dual. So there are so many kernel functions are available in the literature. So some of the kernel functions authors are using, that is most of the kernel functions authors are using this radial basis function, or you can say this is Gaussian kernel that is given by this. So in the final, we have this 12 problem, and the solution obviously it's nothing but because once we will get this alpha I from this particular 12 column, you just put the value of alpha I, because this particular things you already know. Okay, B is already know. So you will get the final classifier, means, or you can say what will be the solution of your problem that is given by this particular function. So there are some issues in the SVM. Obviously, SVM will take normally order of m cube. That is the complexity of SVM is, that is the order of m cube. M is nothing but through number of trainings SVM. So 4 times how you can justify means it's totally proof if you find the papers of this particular work. So they have already given the proof of why this thin support vector machine will take means 4 times lesser time comparison to this support vector machine. So obviously it's given by the proposed by the Jadeva et al. And it requires means instead of this because obviously we have a pair of non-parallel planes, okay, and here we are using empirical this mean Mason principle that is already discussed by in previous lectures. So there's a two terms, there's a SRM principle and the ERM principle. So we SQM actually that is based on the SRM principle, but in support vector machine there are in SQM that is not means based on the SRM principle. It follows the empirical mean Mason principle. So let's say we have this two type of data points. So obviously this circle maybe you may consider as a class 1. These are the one class of data points, and there's a square one is there, that is the another kind of another class of data points, and we want to means classify these two data points. Okay, so here what we will do, we will just try to keep one particular hyperplane near to all these data points, as well as for another means hyperplane that is also near to this particular hyperplane. So obviously this is a class 1, and it's a class 1. In that case we are considering as a positive hyperplane. This is the positive hyperplane, and this is called, because its class is -1, so we call it as a negative hyperplane. So hyperplane equation we are assuming that is X transpose W1 plus V1 is equal to 0, and for this particular negative hyperplane we are considering as a X transpose W2 plus V2 is equal to 0. So ultimately means whatever the class this final classifier, that will be nothing, it's the mean of these two functions, or you can say these two hyperplanes. So here sorry, so here what actually we want to means whatever the points are here, let's say this is a class 1 data points, we just find out the perpendicular distance from these means from this hyperplane. Okay, so ultimately because we want to put this hyperplane near to all these data points, that means we just trying to minimize the error. Okay, so whatever the distance is here, whatever the distance, obviously this is nothing but because this is not means as a fit on all the data points, but we want to fit as much as possible. So ultimately what we can do, we can, whatever the distance is there, we want to just whatever the sum is there, you just minimize that particular sum, or you can say minimize the error. And another thing, whatever the points are here, let's say this particular point, so you want to keep this particular hyperplane, this is the hyperplane, okay, and you want to keep this particular hyperplane at least 1 unit of distance from this particular point. Okay, so whatever the points are here, you want to keep this particular hyperplane as far as possible. So as far as means we have given some kind of quantity here, so we have considered as a 1 unit of distance that should be there. Okay, so in SPM, to non-parallel proximal hyperplane, because in SPM we have only a single hyperplane we are trying to find out, but in SPM we are trying to find out two non-parallel proximal hyperplanes should be placed in such a way that hyperplane is closest to one of the two classes and as far as possible from other class. So how you can represent those things, obviously this will be your final classifier. So how you will represent those things in terms of mathematics. So let's say we have this function f1, x is nothing but x transpose w1 plus v1 is equal to 0. That is corresponding to the positive hyperplane. And there is another hyperplane, that is the f2 is equal to x transpose w2 plus v2 is equal to 0. That is corresponding to the second, you can say, negative hyperplane. So for the first one, let's say we have this particular hyperplane. So hyperplane equation is x transpose w plus w1 plus v1 is equal to 0, and the data points, whatever the data points, you just represent all data points in a matrix. Okay, So whatever the distance is, you just find out through this particular term. So that is nothing but a w1 plus e1 v1. Ultimately, what you will, whatever the points will be here, you just put here, okay, and you just take the norm of square. Obviously, you want to take the distance, okay. So you just satisfy all the points here and calculate the distance that you want to minimize, as well as this for the second term is here, that is nothing but a c1 e2 transpose q1. So just forget about this right now, just focus on this q1 part. So whatever the points are here, these are the b class points, or all are negative points. So you will satisfy this point to this particular, if you assume that particular you can say logic, in that case you can represent it these things by this particular inequality. So ultimately we want to minimize the means error, okay, as well as we want to minimize this particular distance. So this particular things is given by for this positive hyperplane, okay. In the same manner, for the second one, now just find out the distance from all data points to this from this particular hyperplane, that is represented by this one, and all the data points whatever the here, you just find, means you want to keep as far as possible from this particular hyperplane, that is represented by this particular inequality. So that means you want to means keep the points, whatever the points are here, you want to keep the points as far as from this particular hyperplane, and at the same time you want to keep this particular hyperplane near to all these data points. So this is actually the logic behind this particular model. So here you will see we have to compute, or we have to solve this particular as a, this is a one problem, and we also solve this particular as a second problem, okay. So because we have here two, you can say two kind of problem we have, so that's why it's called this twin support vector machine, okay. So support vector machine may we have only a one problem formulation, but in this particular model we have a two type of problems, or you can say it's a smaller size, not the same size, okay. So it's a smaller size. So how we can say that that will be a smaller size, I'll discuss. So this this 1 and 2, this will be your problem, okay. So here we have given, obviously this C1 and C2, these are the parameters, and even E2 I already discussed in nutrition's part. So that is the vector of ones of appropriate size, and Q1 Q2 is the it's a select variable. Obviously it's here is represented as an error. So error cannot be negative, so that's why it's Q1 and Q2, there is an inequality is there. Q1 always greater than equal to 0, and Q2 is also greater than 0. So now we have this particular problem, okay. Now we can we have to solve this diamond problem, okay. So what we will do, we'll just write this particular term of diamond problem into a Lagrangian, okay. So by introducing the Lagrangian multiplier, so this alpha 1 and beta 1, we are assuming that is your Lagrangian multiplier for this particular problem, okay. We assume, as well as for this one we are assuming alpha 2 and beta 2, that is your Lagrangian multiplier, and this particular term is, that is your objective function, and you just club with the all the constraints. So first constraint you are clubbing with minus alpha 1 transpose, this is the first constraints, and minus beta 1 transpose, this is second constraints. So you will see this is your first constraint, just this E2 will become this side, okay. So when you will come take this to left side, so obviously it will be minus time A2, and this Q1 is obviously minus beta 1 transpose Q1. So ultimately this this is the way to solve the problem. So that's why actually we are just writing in that particular manner. So in the same way for this particular problem, so this is your objective function minus alpha 1 alpha 2 transpose is this particular term, minus even will become this side, and minus beta 2 transpose Q2. So you will see this is the L2 is nothing but, so obviously here the unknown is nothing but the W1 B1 Q1 alpha 1 beta 1, And for this particular Lagrangian function, we have an unknown W2, Q2, V2, P2, alpha 2 and 2. So obviously we have already told you, means I already told, means this alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2, these are the Lagrangian multiplier. So now we'll apply this KKT conditions. So KKT condition is nothing but give you the means under what conditions your problem will give you the optimization problem solution. Okay. So we'll apply. So first we'll take the derivative and obviously these are variables. Whatever the variables are there, this is W1, P1, Q1. These are the variables. Obviously this alpha 1, alpha 2. This is a Lagrangian multiplier. So obviously these are the unknowns. So first we'll take the derivative respect to W1. So when we take the derivative of this one respect to W1, so what you will get, this 2, obviously when we will take 2 will be cancelled out, and this particular, this you can write A E1, obviously this is the augmented matrix, and W1 B1 transpose, you just write it as it is. And again when you will do this respect to W1, so this A W1, so you will get it A transpose. And this particular term respect to W, that will W1, that will be 0, and respect to here, if you find out respect to this W1, so obviously this minus alpha 1 transpose minus this B will become, okay. So obviously B is nothing but, because this is a B W1, so when we will take the derivative respect to W1, so this will become B transpose, and this will become alpha 1. So what you will get plus of B transpose alpha 1. Okay. So same manner will equate to 0. For respect to same things when we'll do respect to this B1, so what you will get here, this term, because this B1 is here, so in that case again you will find out, so E transpose, this whole terms will become, okay, and this, because there is no B, that will be 0. For here again you will get it what, with this minus minus plus, and this E2 is here, so E2 transpose alpha 1, that will be your respect to this B1, and this term there is no B1, so obviously it will be 0. So ultimately what we are doing here, we are just trying to find out the partial derivative with respect to the variables. So in the same manner we calculate for the Q1, and you will get it this particular term, because this, there is no Q1, so this whole term will be 0. This will be nothing but, that will be give you as a E2 C1, okay, or you can say C1 E2. C1 is the scalar quantity, so there will be no transpose, no need to write transpose here, and minus obviously because we are just doing respect to this Q1, so this particular term will be 0, but when you multiply this minus alpha 1 transpose with Q1, what you will get minus alpha 1 transpose Q1. So in this particular thing you will get alpha 1, and here you will get it beta 1. Okay, so all these things, so these are the means KKT conditions. When you go through, you can write all the KKT conditions. Now further what you will do, we combine this 5 and 6. Obviously 5 and 6 is nothing but, sorry, 5 and 6 we have this, we can combine these two in this particular manner for simplicity. So what you will get, you just combine this, so you can write A transpose E1 transpose, this particular term is common, you can write as it is, same things you can write as it is, then this B transpose E2 transpose, and this is alpha 1 is equal to 0. So when you have these things, you can means write in the shorter form, or you can say in the simple form, by assuming this H is equal to this particular term, G is equal to V2, and U1 is equal to this. So we assume that these are the variables. The definition is given by here, and we can write this thing in this particular manner. So you will get, this is nothing but, that is your H transpose, this is your H, this is your U1, this is your G transpose, and this is your alpha 1. So you will get this one, and from here we can find out alpha 1. So sorry, U1. So U1 is nothing but minus H transpose H inverse. Obviously this will be go this side, so minus times G transpose alpha 1, and this H transpose H you may be take right side, that will be the H inverse, H transpose H inverse. So ultimately what you will get this U1 is equal to this. Okay, so here means H you already know because A already you know, even you already know, this G already know because B and U2 you already know, but alpha 1 actually we don't know. Okay, so our aim is to find out this alpha 1. If you know this alpha 1, then you are able to compute this U1, and U1 is nothing but W1 V1. Okay, so now how you will kind, so here A1 you can write this H, B W1 V1 you can write it as a U1. Okay, and this same terms actually I have written minus alpha 1 transpose minus, this is nothing but say your G, this is nothing but this is U1 plus Q1 minus E2 and minus beta 1 Q1. So ultimately I have actually represented in this particular manner, in a sorted manner. Okay. And you can write this HU1 norm of HU1 square, you can write as X means HU1 transpose HU1. Okay. And further, what you will put, you just know the value of this U1, just put the equation whatever you have here in the previous slide, U1 is equal to this one, you just keep here. Okay. So when you will put here this U1, so what you will get this particular thing. Okay. So U1 I just replace by here, this U1 I am replacing by this one, for this U1 I am replacing by this one. So when you will do this, so see, further we'll simplify this in this particular manner here. So this transpose actually I am just removing, or you can say I am writing in this particular manner. So transpose will become inside. So this whole terms will be coming as a reverse. Okay, so alpha 1 transpose G H transpose H inverse, this GH transpose. Then same terms actually I have written, this one is same terms, and minus alpha 1 transpose, this minus minus will be plus, so this GH transpose H inverse, you can write this particular term, and this minus alpha 1, sorry, this minus beta 1 transpose E1 we are writing as it is. Okay. So further here again we just multiply these two things, so you will get it this. So what you will get, you just see here, just notice here, this minus is here, minus is here, so this minus minus will be cancelled out. Okay, so alpha 1 transpose G H transpose H inverse, and again you can combine this particular term, or you can write this particular term in this manner. Then H transpose H inverse, you can write it in this manner. Okay, so G transpose, everything is same. So now if you know, I think you know the property, this A inverse A is equal to I, so I am using that particular property here, so that means this particular things you can write and replace by I. Okay, so you can replace this with I, so in that case, sorry, here inverse will be here, this is normal. So when we replace this with I, you will get what? You will get this particular thing here, and everything will be same. Now this particular term is nothing but some half of this something, and this is minus of something. So this term is nothing but, so you will get it minus 1 by 2 something, this whole term. And here you can write this C1 E2 transpose, this minus alpha 1 transpose, minus beta 1 transpose. So E1 actually I am just take it out, and plus this alpha 1 transpose E2. And we know already this equation when in the previous slide we have seen, means when we are taking the this derivative with respect to Q1, you are getting this C1 E2 minus alpha 1 minus beta 1 is equal to 0. So that means you can take it as a 0, so this whole terms will become 0. And another thing, this C1 E2 minus alpha 1 minus beta 1 is equal to 0, and beta 1 is getting equal to 0. From these things you can conclude that this alpha 1 less than equal to C1 E2, because this alpha 1 this beta 1 greater than 0, in that case obviously this alpha 1 is always less than equal to C1 E2. And you already know this alpha 1 is greater than or equal to 0. So you can combine this inequality and this inequality, and you can write in this particular manner. So ultimately what we have this particular formulation. So this is your objective function under this particular constraints. So constraints on alpha 1 is nothing but that is G0 is less than equal to alpha 1 less than equal to C1. So now this is the maximization column. Okay, so we can write in the minimization form. So we can write, so just multiply with minus, so you will get it minus 1 by 2 alpha 1 transpose G H transpose H inverse C transpose alpha 1 minus alpha 1 transpose C2. So now this particular thing, actually this is your dual form of your primal problem 1. Okay, so how you can solve these particular things I will discuss in later slides. So this particular dual form is for the primal problem of 1. Okay, so in the same manner you have to find for others also. Means other problem is nothing but we have another hyperplane equation. So for that, actually again we have the means we will apply the Piketty conditions on L2 problem. Okay, sorry, L2 Lagrangian function. So with respect to this, actually 2 percentage with respect to W2. So obviously we get it this particular form because this is PE2 W2 E2 V2. Sorry, this will come as it is, and we again just do the this respect to W, because if you have x square, so what you will do? You first you take 2x, and again you will take the derivative respect to the again x. So you will get it 1. So in the same manner, because here we will not get it 1 because we have there is a multiplication with this W2, there is a B. So that's why you will get it this B transpose on this one, and here this will be 0 respect to W2, and here again you will get it this minus A transpose alpha 2, and respect to this 0, respect to this again 0, and respect to this you will get it 0. So ultimately you will get means respect to, if we find the means derivative respect to this you can say W2 V2 and here alpha 2. So you will get it the means same kind of things whatever you have done, or you can say same in the same manner you can do whatever you have done for the L1 case. So you will get it this this is you can compute whatever I have told you previous for the previous Lagrangian function. So now again we can combine these two equations into a single term for the simplicity. So here we can write means P transpose E2 transpose, here you can write it as is, and this minus A transpose E1 transpose alpha 2. And again, because this is represented by, I think this represented by G transpose, so you can add G transpose G U2 plus H transpose alpha 2 is equal to 0, because this is your G transpose, this is your G, this is your U2, this is your H transpose, and this is your alpha. So we are just writing in a simple form, and from here you can able to calculate this what is your U2. So U2 you can means obviously you can calculate this U2 is equal to G transpose G inverse H transpose alpha. So same, once we have in the previous case, once we have the U1, so what you have done, you have put the value of U1 in the Lagrangian function of L1. So here we have a U2, so we'll put the value of here of U2 here. Okay, so first we write in the simple form. So for simple form of this particular equation 4 is nothing but this one. So this is your G, this is your U2, this term will be same. Okay, minus alpha 2, then again HU2 plus Q2 minus E1 minus beta 2 transpose 2. So ultimately you are just writing the simple form such that you can handle easily. So again you can write this as a term x transpose x. So this is your x square, norm of x square, you can write this x transpose x. Then again you just put the value of U2 here. So once we'll have put the value of U2 here, you will get, so you replace this U2 by this particular term, you replace U2 by this particular term, and same thing here you are here, so you just replace by this particular term. So when you are doing in this particular manner, so again you just transpose, just come inside. So if you take inside, in that case everything will be reverse, and you just make it as a transpose. So now what actually I have done here, so transpose will from this side to alpha 2 transpose, this H will be here, G transpose G inverse, this G transpose, and again this particular term will be from here plus C2 to transpose Q2. So all other terms will be same. So now again you multiply these two things, so you will get it this particular form, when you can write this particular things as a I, because it's an identity matrix, you can write this, so you will get it I think using so you can write this as a I, so you will get it only 1 by 2 alpha 2 transpose H, G transpose G inverse, H transpose alpha 2, and all other systems will be this one. And here same manner, because this is equal to 0, so you can write, you can make it this whole terms as a 0, so you will get it only this way. So in the last, actually what we get, this obviously again this is some constraints, so you have to handle the constraints also. So this is equal to 0, beta 2 is equal to beta 2 get equal to 0, alpha 2 get equal to 0. So you can combine these two constraints. So obviously based on this, you can write it is alpha 2 less than equal to C2 E1, and further you can combine these two inequalities. You can write in a single inequality like this. So obviously now we have this final you can say 12 form of our primal column second. So here this max of we have written, you can write in the minimization form also. So we can able to write in the minimization form in this particular. So now our aim is to again find out this alpha 2, because here alpha 2 is unknown to us. Other terms are we already know. So once you know the alpha 1 and alpha 1 you can compute by this equation number 12, and this alpha 2 you can compute by equation number 20. So our aim is to means how we can solve this quadratic drawing problem, because this is quadratic drawing problem. So that actually we are using this MATLAB toolbox. Okay, so how we can apply those things to discuss. So once we have this alpha 1 and alpha 2, obviously suppose we already calculate this alpha 1 alpha 2, so you can able to find out this W1 B1 by using this, because you already calculate this U1 and U2. Okay, so once we have this alpha 1, you can able to compute this B1 W1 B1, and the same manner when you have this alpha 2, you can able to see what is your W2 B2. And once we have this W1 B1 and W2 B2, so now in that case you already know your hyperplane equation, that is nothing but X transpose W1 plus B1 is equal to 0, and for second hyperplane, that is the X transpose W2 plus B2 is equal to 0. So for any sample, suppose once we have this function, so how you compute means what will be the class level of that particular sample. So how we will test, how you will compute this class of the sample, testing sample. So let's say this X is your testing sample. So in that case, what you will do, you just compute the distance from this F1 hyperplane and the F2 hyperplane. So whatever the closest one, you just compute the class of that particular level of that particular class. Okay. So suppose if the point is nearest to this hyperplane 1, okay, or you can say this F1, in that case the class level will be because it's a positive class, so that is corresponding to plus 1, that will correspond to plus 1. And if it is let's say your testing sample is near to maybe F2 hyperplane, in that case your class will be -1 of that particular sample. So in this particular manner, you can able to find out the class level of any testing sample through this particular form. Ultimately, we just calculate the distance from each hyperplane. So here, same obviously, if you notice that means instead of in SPM actually we are trying to find out a single quadratic drawing problem, okay, of size m. Okay. We solve the QPPs of size m, that is means obviously. But in case of this field support vector machine, we are solving a two QPPs of maybe one size, maybe m1. M1 is nothing but a positive class sample, and M2 is nothing but a negative class sample. So of size m1 and of size m2. Okay, so this is of size m2, and the previous one is of size of m1. So we have obviously we have a smaller size QPPs, okay, comparison to this SPM. So if we are solving a single QPPs of particular size, and if we same in the same manner, if we if we solve two QPPs of smaller size, so in that case, that is a totally proof that means your means obviously total time is that will be lesser than 4 times. Okay, so that's why this particular model is also very popular, and you will Google it, means you will find so many number of variants of this particular model too. They are just proposed for maybe outliers. They have proposed for maybe to handle the noise sensitivity. They just apply for some kind of you can say they are plugging with some kind of knowledge in particular model. So they have proposed maybe 100 numbers of variants of this particular model. So this is a really means what we say popular topic, or you can say popular model, which is related to this supported terms. So obviously it's because it's taking less time. So as well as you will find that means once we'll apply this in supported machine. So in many of the cases you will find that means it's performing well compared to this SPM. So those who are means applying the supported machine for different applications, so my suggestion is that means instead of means applying this SPM, you maybe try with this in SPM, and I hope so you will get means better performance in comparison to the SPM in terms of the generation ability, as well as in terms of your obviously it will take less time. So this is my means advice for you. So this whole things whatever actually I have discussed for the linear things, okay. So now this whole things actually I have discussed, I have written for this non-linear form. So the difference is nothing but just the difference is here. This instead of this X transpose, now here we have a kernel matrix. Okay, this is the K X transpose T transpose. X is your particular sample. Okay, D is the whole data. Okay, and this W1 P1, that is the same matrices whatever we have done. So we have a means instead of this what we say hyperplane, we have here kernel generated surface. Okay. So we consider this means positive hyperplane, and this is the negative hyperplane. This is represented instead of this line equation, we are represented in the form of the kernel generated surface. So this is the simple difference in linear case and non-linear case, and all the formulation will be same. Instead of this K A T transpose, you will get it only A here for this one. So whatever the A you will represent in the previous formulation, you just replace by this particular term, and B you just replace by this particular term. You will get it the same formulation whatever I have written. So I am not going to discuss those things again. So it's the same thing. And once obviously you will see here this obviously this is a maximization column here. So in previous case we have written in the minimization terms. So if you see here this instead of in the previous case we have assumed this H and G. H is nothing but A augmented of A and E, and H we have represented G we have represented in terms of B and E. Okay, so here P and Q. So P and Q, you can see here we have written this P and this Q. So ultimately this is your B, this is your A. Whatever I want to means to tell you, means you just need to just replace this particular term. Okay. So you will get the same formation whatever we have done in this case for the linear case. So same here, you just compute the distance, whatever the distance you can compute, and whatever the minimum, you you just take the class label of that particular zone. So there are some drawbacks actually. Drawbacks obviously, if you see here, we have to find out the inverse of this Q transpose Q inverse. Okay, we have to find out this particular term. We have to find out the inverse of this particular. So maybe sometimes due to the similarity, so you will not able to find out the inverse. So this is a problem with this particular model. And another problem with this because SRM principle is I think this is a more suitable in comparison to the CRM principle, but this particular model is following the ERM principle. So it does not follow the SRM principle, but further means many authors has means publish some new work where they have proposed SRM principle. So you can find in some of the recent papers. So another problem with this particular model, because you are giving the importance, means you are giving the importance to all the training samples same, obviously. Okay. So in that case, it's not means in the real life applications, you cannot means take it as it is. So obviously, every means points maybe or you can say every training samples maybe have different importance, or some of them maybe having some kind of importance, or maybe some kind of training samples maybe other kind of importance. So it's depend on the so for this particular models you are not able to handle so these things. Okay. And another things obviously this particular model is also facing this to handle the noise as well as the outliers. So these are the drawbacks of this particular model. So further because this particular models is published in 2007, and further there are so many number of papers you will find, and authors have proposes different kind of schemes to improve this particular models. So now actually now I'm just means how you can implement this particular model. Suppose you got some idea of this particular model, but how you can able to write those things. So I just so give you some idea here. So this is a one function that is a plot block that is solve the quadratic problem. So you will find in the MATLAB. Okay, we just type in the MATLAB this plot problem, you will get this particular definition. Okay, and it's saying that if you have this kind of you can say optimization problem, okay, under this particular constraints, so the solution can be find out by this particular function, that is a plot block. H is nothing but this one, F is this particular thing. Okay, and A, B, suppose we have only this particular concept, so in that case you just write only A comma B. And suppose we have a AQ X is equal to BQ, that is also absent in our case. Okay, so you can write this AQ BQ if you don't have this kind of inequalities. Okay, this kind of inequalities you have only this particular inequalities in twin SPR, right? So these two inequalities are absent. So in that case, we'll pass as a blank matrix. Okay, we'll pass it as a blank. We'll see. We'll discuss later. So here, if we have this kind of form, okay, so we can means find the solution by this particular function. We just call this particular function, and you will get it the value of this x, because x is your unknown. So in our case, if you see, we have a two problem of this particular type, and we have to find out the alpha 1 and alpha 2. So if you see this particular thing, if you notice that this 1 by 2, okay, this alpha 1 transpose is nothing but for alpha 1 transpose is nothing but that is your x transpose. Okay, and this is your h, and again this is alpha. So capital X nothing but this is your G H transpose, H inverse G transpose, that will be your capital H, and my plus F transpose X. So in that case, because this is F transpose X, and here we have alpha 1 transpose E2, so you can write how we can convert, you can write it as a E2 transpose alpha 1. Okay, so when you write E2 transpose alpha 1, so obviously this F1 is nothing but your your minus times, because this in the here you will see here plus. Okay, so you can add this minus times this E2 transpose. Okay, so that means you just relate the this particular term with your problem. Okay, 12th problem, and you can solve this particular problem. Okay, so now I'm just showing you means this code for linear problem. Okay, so here actually we just call this as a twin SVM linear function, and we are passing this train data and test data, and C1 this is your parameter. Okay, and from that actually we are just computing the value of means from this particular function you just return back these all the values you are collecting. Okay, and here training data is your obviously this is a training data, so you just compute the size through this particular command. Then this OBS is nothing but you say output of means last you can say last column. So train data obviously it's having all the class labels. Okay, so that we you are just assigning or you just collecting into a OBS. A and B we are assuming that is initially that are empty. Okay, so I told you A is for the positive class samples and B is for the negative class samples. Okay, so how you can means separate all the data points, positive class data points in the A and all the negative data class data points into B. So for this particular block means this particular for loop, you can able to do those things. How? Once you will know how many samples are there, because you already collected this number of samples are number of input. Okay, so for I is equal to 1 to number of input, and if OPS of this just now see if it is 1 to A, so you can write in this particular you can write those things through this particular command, and if it is OPS is equal I is equal to -1, in that case you just collecting that particular sample into a B. So through this particular things, you are able to segregate all the positive class data points into A and all the negative class data points into B. Okay. Now A and B already we know. Once we have this A and B, then further obviously there is a C1 and C2, so we are taking as a both things we are taking as it is same. EP actually we are assuming for this as a you can say user input. So I just assigning as a epsilon is equal to 0.10 to the power -5. So and this again now we just computing this size of A. What is the size of A? Is m1 comma n. So here m1 you will get it what? You will get it total number of positive class samples, and in n you will get it only how many means attributes are there. So n you are storing it. Okay, so even we have defined of m1 size, once of m1 size. So even is that it's a 1 1 1 1 m times, it's a column vector. Same h we are defining now. So h is nothing but it's augmented of a comma a augmented of even. So you just write in this particular manner. This is some space. Okay, and in the same manner this m2 comma n, that is equal to size of B. So same things you are just calculating for E2, then G you are defining by B2. Okay, so ultimately what we have in the when we have seen the formulation, so H is defined by A even and G is defined by BE2. So that thing actually you are just doing here. So now you are having this H here and you are calculating this G here, and this C actually this is your whole. Instead of D actually we have assuming this C is equal to your whole class data. M is nothing but m1 plus m2, obviously total number of samples, and em1 is equal to n plus 1. So here we can see this obviously if we relate these things, so this 1/2 this is nothing but X transpose. Okay, this is your H. Okay, and this is your again alpha 1, you can say, you can assume that is your X plus F transpose X. So this you can that is E2 transpose alpha 1. So you can write as a minus E2 transpose as your that will be your F, and this is your X. And if you notice that means this particular inequality is absent in your case. Okay, so that means A and B that will be absent in your case, as well as you will see there is no inequality. So no equality. Okay, so in that case A2 and B2 that is also absent. So and here this 0 less than equal to alpha 1 less than equal to C1 E2. In that case, you will see this LB is less than equal to X less than equal to UB. So LB is nothing but 0 and UB is nothing but that is your C1 E2. So so we can relate the things means what are the means what we say parameters you have to pass, or you can say what are the values you have to pass into a function. You can compare with this particular function, or you can say this particular problem. So here this GH transpose H inverse G transpose, that first you just make it as a H. Okay, so how you can calculate? So it's a simple thing. You already know this H transpose H, so I just assume this is H transpose H. This inverse of H transpose H is something what's given by this one, and G inverse transpose G, G transpose. So that is given by G H transpose H inverse G transpose. So this whole term is nothing but your H, and in the same time this your F1 is nothing but minus E2 transpose. If you compare this to this one, you will get F1 you will get it this one. So now you can call for this alpha 1, this is a chord block, this is your H. If you see there H, and this is your F1, you just pass this F1, and these two, because this AB are absent in your case, so just pass as a blank matrix, same as AQ and BQ is also unknown, that should pass as a blank matrix. And then further this LP and UB, because LP and UB is there, you just pass as a low P1 and up P1. So you are already computed. So in the same manner for second problem, so you have to call another function that is chord block for this particular to solve this particular problem. So or you can say this particular QPD. So H inverse B H inverse. So here G transpose G you can write as it is. Okay, so inverse of G transpose is named the inverse of G transpose. Why you are using this one? Because sometimes maybe this inverse may not be exist. So in that case, to handle those things, we have to add some delta items here, such that we can able to handle the inverse problem. Okay, and this H inverse H transpose you can write in this particular. So once we have this alpha 1 alpha 2, because now same thing you can write in this particular manner. So you can find out this alpha 1 alpha 2. Once we have alpha 1 alpha 2, you can put it here. So you will get it U1 and U2. And if you know U1 and U2, you can find out W1 B1 and W2 B2. So because you already know this U1 and U2. Okay, U1 is given by this one and U2 is given by this one. So so this particular code is means to write this linear, how you can solve this linear subvector C. So I further suppose we have any test sample. In that case, what you will do, you just pass this test sample. You just write T is equal to test data, whatever the test data is there, you just set it, and there's a bunch of obviously I'm just using for maybe n number of you can say T number of, or maybe you can say empty number of testing sample. Okay, so you just compute this by y1 and y2. So y1 is something but you have to find out the distance epsilon. Sorry, this absolute distance. So what is nothing but you will get it this tu1 obviously, and for y2 you will get it tu1. Okay. And once we have this y1 and y2, you just compare the value. So ultimately, whatever the minimum one, you just assign the class level. So if y1 is the minimum, in that case, class level will be 1. If y2 is minimum, in that case, class will be -1. So in this particular manner, you can find out all the data points, whatever the data points are here, you are able to find out the class level. And once we have the class level, we can compare the class level, means predicted class level with the original one, and we can find out means how many matches are there, and based on the matches you are able to find out the accuracy of this particular model. So through that means you can able to find out. So here I have taken a one simple example where means where I have applied this particular model. So I have taken this display data set where we have a total number of data samples 1250, and total features are there are two, and there's a positive data point 625 and negative total negative data point is 625. And this is actually standard data set. So we normally in the training size we used to take 250 number of samples. In the testing we used to take 1000 number of samples, and their total number of classes are obviously 2, that is nothing but plus 1 minus 1. So this is a whole data points, okay, and we are among these particular all samples we are choosing this particular sample for our training data. So when we apply this particular model, so you are able to find out that this particular final classifier as in this particular way. Okay, so you will find this particular as a, you can say, hyperplane. Okay, this is a, maybe you can consider it is a minus class, so you consider this F2 and this is your M1. And for the nonlinear case, you are able to get this particular as a final classifier for this particular. So this is for the training. Okay. And once we apply for all the test data points, so what are the test data points? Test data points are this one. So if you apply here and here, you will get it means in linear case we are getting around 87% accuracy, but for the non-linear case we are getting around 88.8% accuracy. Okay, and these are the optimum parameters for that we are getting this particular accuracy. So, so in this way, you can maybe apply this particular model. Okay. So I will share this particular code. Maybe you can explore that code later also. So some of the research directions under this particular area. So obviously this SVM, no doubt it's a very old topic actually, but it's very popular, and as well as still it's very demanding in different applications. So you can maybe you have, if you have a basic idea what this SVM to SVM, or this is a GEP SVM. So in that case, what you can do, you just modify some of the things, or you can say some do some kind of as well as means instead of obviously many of the means researchers they are means replacing this loss function, so they just apply different kind of other loss functions instead of this these loss functions in this particular case. So you maybe apply Google loss function, Windows loss function, and so on. And as well as you can propose means because in our case actually we have considered this obviously quadratic, you can say error. So instead of quadratic, maybe one maybe take it as a in a one norm it can calculate. So those are the things actually researchers may apply. And obviously there is another way because there's this whatever actually I have shown you, that is a one way to solve the problem. Maybe there is that particular problem may be solved by some other particular method also. So people are means exploring that particular thing. Also, they just apply this Lagrangian method, Newton method, and this SMO, and these kind of the means methods they are applying in this particular formulations. And also, there's many applications where you can